Canto 1, chapter verse 2. Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmacharanam satam vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayon mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim va parerishvara sadhyo hriday avarudatetra Kritibi Shubhistachanat. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Jai. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavad Puran propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Does anybody want to read the purport?
Can I read, Mataji?
Yes, please.
Over and above the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is a personal commentation on the Vedanta Sutra by Srila Vyasadeva. Sri Vyasadeva. It was written in the maturity of his spiritual life through the mercy of Narada. Sri Vyasadeva is the authorized incarnation of Narayana, the personality of Godhead. Therefore, there is no question as to his authority. He is the author of all other Vedic literatures, yet he recommends the study of Srimad Bhagavatam above all others. In other Puranas, there are different methods set forth by which one can worship the demigods. But in the Bhagavatam, only the Supreme Lord is mentioned. The Supreme Lord is the total body, and the demigods are the different parts of that body. Consequently, the worshipping the Supreme Lord, one does not need to worship the demigods. The Supreme Lord becomes fixed in the heart of the devotee immediately. The Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended the Srimad Bhagavatam as the spotless Puranas and distinguishes it from all other Puranas. The proper method of receiving this transcendental message is... Sorry, Mataji? The proper method of receiving this transcendental message is to hear it submissively. A challenging attitude cannot help one realize this transcendental message. One particular word is used herein for proper guidance. This word, susura. One must be anxious to hear the transcendental message. The desire to sincerely hear is the first qualification. Less fortunate persons are not all yet interested in hearing this Srimad Bhagavatam. The process is simple, but the application is difficult. Unfortunate people find enough time to hear idle social and political conversations. But when invited to attend a meeting of devotees to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, they suddenly become reluctant. Sometimes professional readers of Bhagavatam immediately plunge into the confidential topics of the pastime of the Supreme Lord, which they seemingly interpret as a sex literature. Srimad Bhagavatam is meant to be heard from the beginning. Those who are fit to assimilate this work are mentioned in this sloka. One becomes qualified to hear Srimad Bhagavatam after many pious deeds. The intelligent person who thoughtful discretion can be assumed by the great sage Vyasadeva that he was realized the Supreme Personality directly by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Without undergoing the different stages of realization set forth in Vedas, one can be lifted immediately to the position of Paramahansa simply by agreeing to receive this message. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhupada Mataji. Okay. Okay, we'll just say our prayers. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Dhamine Namaste Saraswati
Welcome
Devi
to
Vardhavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shundyavadi Prasthapati.
Yeah, Vistarini.
Resolution is tantamount. Sorry, I'm just going to try and mute everybody because there is too much of background sound. If everybody can just mute yourselves, please, that'll be great.
Mute him. Muted him.
Okay. Right. Okay. So let's look at these. These are the final 3 paragraphs of the verse 2. The others were covered by His Grace Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu and His Grace Mukund Hari Prabhu. So let's look at these final 3 paragraphs and then we'll just do a summary of this verse. So the first thing in this paragraph, Prabhupada is talking about Srila Vyasadeva. So let's try and understand, who Srila Vyasadeva is. We have in the introduction to Bhagavatam heard about it. We've heard here also. I'm sorry, it's just, that Srila Vyasadeva is the incarnation of Narayan, and he is the one who has written the Srimad Bhagavatam. And here we have this reference where it says that it is described in the list of main avatars. Avatar is the incarnation. That the 17th incarnation was Srila Vyasadeva, who appeared as the son of Parashar Muni and his wife Satyavati. And he appeared so that he could divide this one Veda into different branches and sub-branches so that people of this yuga who are less intelligent could easily understand them. So he is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The reason why we know and we understand and accept that Srila Vyasadeva is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead is because no ordinary person could have done what Vyasadeva has done. Because as we understand, to understand Krishna is unlimited. So how can a human being with just limited facilities try and understand Krishna? That's not possible. And thus, the Supreme Lord himself had to come in order to explain. So Vyasadeva appeared and then he wrote so many different Vedic texts. However, even after writing so many Vedic texts, he was not satisfied. And then the Srimad Bhagavatam came about. So why? Why was he not satisfied? And why the emphasis on the Srimad Bhagavatam? So in all the other Vedic literatures, like the Rig Veda and Samaveda, and all other Upanishads and different Puranas and so many Vedic scriptures that we have, in all of these texts, there are descriptions of the universe. There are descriptions of the, prayers to the demigods, different descriptions of how you can perform various sacrifices, yajnas, the essential things a human being would need, moksha, artha, kama, all of these things, all of those descriptions is there. There is even a description of the soul, the super soul, who is God and his form, and all of that is there. But there is no detailed description of the Supreme Lord, his pastimes with his devotees, his personal form, what are the various things that he does when he is here. on the planet Earth. And thus, Srila Vyasadeva was not satisfied. And at that time, then he took the shelter of his spiritual master, Narad Muni. And he spoke to Narad Muni about his dissatisfaction. And on the instructions of Narad Muni, then, he wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam. And how, as God is all light, all bliss, and all perfection, so also is Srimad Bhagavatam. This is from the purport of Srila Prabhupada. So there is no difference between Srimad Bhagavatam and the Supreme Lord himself. As we've all heard, Bhagavatam is the literal incarnation of the Lord himself. And so Srila Vyasadeva then wrote this Bhagavatam in his maturity, because already he was a self-realized person. He had written so many different scriptures. And then finally he wrote the Bhagavatam. And the Bhagavatam, as we can see in the purport, Prabhupada also comments about this, that it is Srila Vyasadeva's own commentary on all the Vedanta philosophy. And so it brings to light all the aspect of the absolute truth, especially the personal characteristics of Sri Krishna. And that is why in this verse it is being said that, I'll just come to that, the exact statement. It says that Vedyam Vastavam Atra. So this Vastavam, this is factual. And if you understand this Veda, Atra means this. If you understand this Bhagavatam, then there is no need for any other scriptures, right? Why do you need to understand any other scriptures? And that is why this Bhagavatam is so essential, and so much emphasis is given on understanding, reading, listening the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then another lesson for all of us from this is Srila Vyasadeva, who was a realized soul, who was actually the incarnation of the Supreme Lord himself. But when he was confused, he took the shelter of his spiritual master. So important for all of us to understand this point, that spiritual life, for that matter, even material life. In our material life, we go to schools and colleges and university to get knowledge. We accept teachers, we accept gurus. And same way in the spiritual life, if one has to progress, one has to accept a guru. So that's, again, we can take this lesson from here. So many times from the Bhagavad Gita, from the stories of the Bhagavatam, it reinforces how important it is to take shelter of a guru. So just repeating the lines of the verses, so that we will be discussing just these couple of lines today. Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite. So this Bhagavatam, like I said, has been compiled by Vyasadeva, and that is sufficient for God realization. We don't need anything else. Kimva parer Ishvara. What is the need of any other scripture? And then, so we need to understand why we are constantly emphasizing on this. And again, there is a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.43 where it says, Krishna swadhama pagate dharma jnana dibi saha kalo nashta drisham esha puranarko dhunodita. So when Krishna left for his dham, Krishna swadhama pagate, when he left for his dham, dharma, jnana, everything went with him, accompanied by religion, knowledge, and everything. So in today's age, because of ignorance, everything is lost. We have lost the vision. How are we going to get light? How are we going to get knowledge? How are we going to get enlightenment? And this verse tells us that this Quran will shed light, will give us the knowledge to understand Krishna, right? And then, very interesting over here, it says that Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to eradicate all pretentious principles of religiosity. And prior to his departure, he empowered Srila Vyasadeva so that Srila Vyasadeva would compile the Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this age of Kali, if we want to understand Lord, if we want to understand who we are, why we are here, then the study of Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam is very, very essential. We also need to understand that Srimad Bhagavatam is the direct representation of Lord Krishna. And one who can see the Srimad Bhagavatam can also see Lord Krishna in person. They are identical. This is Prabhupada's purport from this verse. It is amazing where Prabhupada is telling us, giving us these instructions that one who can see the Srimad Bhagavatam. And when we say see Srimad Bhagavatam, it is not with our material eyes. Seeing the Bhagavatam through the Shastra Chakshu, through the spiritual eyes, seeing the Bhagavatam by trying to listen, assimilate, understand, and apply the Bhagavatam. That is how we can see the Bhagavatam, and that is how we will be able to see Lord Krishna in person. They are identical, they are non-different. Again, from Srila Prabhupada's purport, I've just taken this thing. It says, the Srimad Bhagavatam is compared to the cream of the milk. Vedic literature is like the milk ocean, but the cream or the butter or the most essential part is the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Then in the purport, Prabhupada says, the Supreme Lord is the total body and the demigods are the different parts of that body. Now, in the past, in our chat sessions, when we have studied the Bhagavad Gita, we have understood this from various verses in the Bhagavad Gita itself, where Krishna is instructing Arjuna how, there are demigods, there are, but the supreme God or the supreme controller is Krishna himself. So Krishna is complete. The demigods are part and parcel of Krishna. And this beautiful verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this verse is being spoken. Lord Shiva is actually speaking to Goddess Durga. And he says, I'll just read the translation. I'm quite conscious of the time. Lord Shiva says, my dear Devi, although the Vedas recommend worship of demigods, the worship of Lord Vishnu is topmost. So as we discussed, the other Vedas and Puranas do recommend so we have the Karma Kanda section, we have the Jnana Kanda. So there's loads of sections in the Vedas where different kinds of sacrifices, different kinds of worship is recommended. However, if one wants to understand Krishna, if one wants to have a complete understanding of the absolute truth, then worship of Lord Krishna, worship of Lord Vishnu is recommended. And in fact, it's further said that worship to or service, or not worship, sorry, service to the Vaishnavas is even higher and better. Yeah. Now, in this purport, Prabhupada clearly explains, and I think we must have studied this in one of our chat sessions, because this is from Bhagavad Gita 4.12. And here, Prabhupada is very strongly saying that there is a misconception about gods and demigods in this material world. Demigods are not different forms of God. Don't think that there is a misconception that it doesn't matter who we pray to. We can pray to anybody, they're all the same. No, it's clearly saying here, God is only one, and that one God is Krishna. The demigods are there to manage the affairs of this material world. And they are also under the control of the supreme controller, who is Krishna. And if you think that the demigods and Krishna are same, then that is an offense. So it's very clearly being stated here that one should not compare even the great demigods like Brahma and Shiva to the Supreme Lord, right? Even Lord Brahma is praying to Lord Krishna. We've heard, some of you may have heard the prayers in the Brahma Samhita where Lord Brahma is praying to Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna is the only God. He is the supreme, the absolute truth. All the others are demigods. They are like different parts of the Supreme Lord. And thus, Prabhupada used to give the example that if you have a tree, if you water the roots of the tree, then all the branches, the leaves, the flowers, everybody will get water. You don't need to water them separately. So if you take shelter of Krishna and if you serve Krishna, then all the demigods are pleased. You don't have to serve the demigods separately because they are all part of that same tree. They're all like the branches and flowers and leaves of the tree. Okay. Also, in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 11, we read and we understood that when Arjuna asked Lord Krishna to reveal his universal form, and when Lord Krishna reveals the form, we can see that all of the demigods are in his body. In the pictures we can see, and Arjuna could see it, and Arjuna did speak about it. He spoke that he could see all of these things. He could see the entire universe. He could see all of the soldiers on the battlefield, everybody in Krishna's body, right? So we know again that all of us, and including all of the demigods, are part and parcel of Krishna. Then in the purport, Prabhupada says, the Supreme Lord becomes fixed in the heart of the devotee immediately. And in the verse also it is said, Ishvara Sadhya Hriday Avarudatyate, Supreme Lord is established within his heart at once. How is he established? That also is given. How? And that is Prithibi Shushrushubhish Takshanat. As soon as one attentively and submissively hears Srimad Bhagavatam. In the purport, Prabhupada very clearly is saying the proper method for receiving this transcendental message is to hear it submissively. And he emphasizes on the particular word sushrusu, which is with proper guidance. So again, over here, we are talking about taking shelter of a guru, taking shelter of acharyas, trying to understand the Bhagavatam with proper guidance. Prabhupada is talking about in the purport about professional reciters of Bhagavatam. In India, we have a lot of these kinds of professional reciters who try and recite the entire Bhagavatam in 7 days. But what they do is they just recite the the canto 10 of the Bhagavatam. As we've all heard in the introduction, that the Bhagavatam is Krishna himself. When we go to the temple, we are advised that we take darshan of the Lordship starting from the lotus feet of Krishna. And the Bhagavatam, the first 2 cantos are the lotus feet of Krishna. And then we move up to the thighs and the chest and the neck and face and whatever else. The face is the canto 10. What professional reciters do is they immediately take darshan of the face of Krishna by just talking about canto 10. And that is not the correct way of approaching the Srimad Bhagavatam. That is not the correct way of approaching the Lord. One has to first take darshan from his lotus feet and then slowly move up. So one has to listen to the Bhagavatam from a person Bhagavat. There is the book Bhagavat, and then there are the person Bhagavat who have realized the Bhagavatam, who have assimilated the knowledge, who apply the knowledge and then try and distribute to all of us. So it is very essential to listen to the Bhagavatam submissively. And then Prabhupada also says that if we try to do it in a challenging way, then the Bhagavatam will not reveal itself. The qualification to enter Vaikuntha, the qualification to understand Srimad Bhagavatam is non-enviousness. If we have envy, if we have the challenging nature, if we want to be the controllers and we don't want Krishna to be the controller, or we think the word servant is a demeaning word, I don't want to be the servant, I want to be the Lord, then we will not be able to understand the Bhagavatam at all. And thus one has to try and inculcate all these qualities of being humble, of being non-envy, of not having any envy, and then we will be able to submissively listen to the Bhagavatam and try to understand the Bhagavatam. And then again, enviousness. We understand envy as, okay, if somebody else is getting something, we think, why am I not getting it? But envy is also at so many different levels. It's at 3 levels. Very, very, very essential to understand this. When I was listening to this class by His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhu, and he was talking about how envy is at 3 levels, it really opened my eyes. So the first level is that, yes, one is not envious of other people's success. The other level, the higher level, first level is, yes, we should not be envious. But we have to move on to the next level where we are well-wishers of everybody. We wish well for everybody. And then the final stage is where we try and establish a society where there is no competition. In the same verse, in the previous paragraphs of this verse, in the purport, Prabhupada was talking about how there is competition on this, in the material world. There's always competition in education, in job, in anything. One wants to be ahead of the other. Spiritual life and spiritual world is such where there is absolutely no competition. In fact, in spiritual world, one is trying to push the other ahead, to go ahead so that they get more mercy of the Guru, they get more mercy of Krishna. Like when we hear about the pastimes of Radharani and the gopis when they're serving Krishna, Radharani is trying to push the gopis ahead so that the gopis get the attention of Krishna. And the gopis are trying to push Radharani ahead. Why? Because they know that Krishna gets most pleasure when he is with Radharani. And the gopis' desire is not that I get pleasure. The gopis' desire is, how can we give most pleasure to Krishna? So if we keep Krishna in the center and realize that giving pleasure to Krishna is the highest goal that one can have. And by giving pleasure to Krishna, everybody else around also is happy. That is the highest level where we realize that our only goal, our only desire to be, how can I please Krishna? What will please Krishna? So we have to try and come to these levels of non-enviousness in order to try and understand Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam, of course, is giving us all the information about the personal feature of the Lord. And that is why Bhakti Yoga is where it is encouraging us to worship this personal form. Right? And thus we have to understand the importance of devotional service to the personal form of the Lord. And for that, we need to take shelter of our predecessors, of our acharyas, of our gurus, of the sampradaya. And then we will be able to move forward in our spiritual life. That is what Prabhupada is also talking about. He's saying that one particular word he used is proper guidance. Okay. And in the last paragraph, then Prabhupada talks about how less fortunate persons are not at all interested in hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he gives the example that where there is discussion of politics or other worldly matters, everybody has their own opinions, everybody wants to talk. But when you talk about spiritual life, then there is always excuses. Excuses like, right now I'm very busy with my work, I need to settle down, or I'm at uni, I have to study, I have to first make something out of myself, a career and whatever else. So there's always, in every phase of a person's life, there are excuses why one can't take to spiritual life. And then Prabhupada gives the example that even when an old man, he is on his deathbed and you ask him to take to spiritual life, because he's not done it throughout, he just can't do it. So, it comes like this, that, somebody is saying chant, chant, chant Hare Krishna, and the other person says can't, can't, can't. Prabhupada used to use this example, and it is true, because one actually has to, anything in our lives, if we don't have the habit of doing it, we won't be able to do it just like that, one fine day, suddenly. One has to develop an interest, understand, and then one can do it. So Prabhupada is saying in his purport that, people are just not interested in hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, whereas they are very keen to discuss and associate with worldly minded people, discuss worldly things. However, in the end, there is a lot of hope that Prabhupada is giving us. And he says one can realize the Supreme Personality directly by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, without undergoing the different stages of realization set forth in the Vedas. One can be lifted immediately to the position of Paramahamsa simply by agreeing to receive this message. So, on one hand, we are saying that a person who is not pious, who is not pure at heart, who is not non-envious, will not be able to receive the message. But on the other hand, we are still saying that if you agree to listen, and then there is this verse in the Bhagavatam, which is amazing. It is such a hope-giving verse. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.10, it says, Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradi, tivrena bhakti yogena yejata purusham param. The translation is, a person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of all material desire, without any material desire, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the supreme whole, the personality of Godhead. So what is being said is that, yes, we are not at the stage where we are completely pure at heart. We are not at the stage where we are completely non-envious. We still have material desires. We still want to do things. We still are under the influence of the modes of material nature. But even then, if we are willing to listen to Srimad Bhagavatam, being Krishna himself, has the power to purify us just by listening. And we can look at the lives of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, the first disciples, when they first time traveled to India. And Prabhupada would give classes in Bombay and in other centers, in other places. Sometimes these lectures would be in Hindi. And all of these European and American disciples obviously did not understand a word of Hindi, but they still sat there throughout the lecture, listening, because this sound vibration is transcendental. There is no language barrier. There is no age barrier. There is no barrier of class or creed for understanding the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam, because it is transcendental. So all of us are being given this opportunity. The only thing we need to do is submissively try and listen, and have faith in what is being spoken in the pages of the Bhagavatam. And then Prabhupada is saying that one can be lifted immediately to the position of Paramhamsa. Paramhamsa is probably the highest stage that one can be in their spiritual life. And just by, faithfully, submissively listening to Srimad Bhagavatam, we can reach that stage. So just to summarize this verse, let me just stop sharing. Just to summarize this verse right at the beginning is completely disregarding the cheating kind of religions, which are there just to gain some material benefits. There are lots of religions which say, you perform this yagya, do this and something, and you will get this in return. The Bhagavatam, right at the beginning, is saying that is not what dharma is. Actual dharma is where you understand who you are, what is your relation to God, and establish that relation. And then it says the Srimad Bhagavatam is auspicious, Shivadan. It is all auspicious, and it gets rid of all, the word used is tapat trayon mulanam. So it gets rid of all miseries. Now the question may be asked that, we do see devotees who have problems in their lives. And it's true, yes, there are problems. So when the Bhagavatam is saying get rid of all miseries, what it means that miseries will be there. But because of the understanding of the Bhagavatam, because of taking shelter of Krishna and of Guru, the consciousness of a devotee changes. He does not see miseries as misery. He sees this as the mercy of the Lord, because he realizes that what is coming to him is because of his past karma. And he sees it as mercy because he thinks that I'm getting the fruits or the results of my past karma. And hopefully I will be able to burn out my past karma in this life with the mercy of the Lord. And that is why these miseries are coming to me. So the whole idea is that it does not mean that distress or miseries will stop. It will still be there. But how a devotee accepts it, how a devotee looks at it, the consciousness will change, right? And then obviously, if we are able to submissively, attentively, without any envy, listen to the Srimad Bhagavatam and accept the message of the Bhagavatam, then Prabhupada says one can reach the stage of Paramhamsa. And we don't need to do anything else. We don't need to read other scriptures, other books, or perform any other things except for devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to Krishna. And that way, we are guaranteed that we will progress in our spiritual life. So I shall just stop here. And before we take any questions or comments, I need to share a message by from Divyanam Prabhu. Let me see if I can share that. So this is a message about there is going to be a very wonderful retreat with his Grace Vaishachika Prabhu in New Mayapur. New Mayapur, if all of you don't know, it is in France. I've heard it is a very beautiful place. I haven't been, but it's a very, very beautiful place. Can you all see this flyer? I will share it on the WhatsApp group also. So this retreat is in the first week of April, from the 2nd of April to the 7th of April. 6 days, 6 nights. Highlights of the retreat obviously is that obviously you're going to get association of so many devotees. Accommodation is included, prasadam is included, local transport, everything is included. What you have to do is get yourself from here to New Mayapur. So you have to try and get your flights done. Now, in terms of flight, if you want to go on the same flight as all the other devotees who are traveling, you can get in touch with Divyanam Prabhu. There are still tickets available on that flight. And the sooner you book your tickets, it'll be cheaper. Otherwise, the prices may go up. There is an early bird offer, which has been extended till the 21st of February. Yeah, it is till the 21st of February, early bird offer. So obviously, please, get in touch with Divyanam Prabhu if you all are interested. And there were some other points which I was asked to make. Let me just go through if I've covered everything. There's only 15 spaces left. Okay. As you can see, the prices are over here. Yeah. There are only 15 spaces left. The accommodation, shared bathroom facilities are available as of now. The on-site accommodation is no longer available, but the shared bathroom facilities are very, very good. I was told there's 4 bathrooms and 4 toilets for, I think, 1 floor or something like that. There are around 35 devotees already booked, like I said, on a particular flight from Stansted. And whoever is interested, please do contact Divyanam Prabhu. You have to book your own tickets, but he can give you all the details. Sutapa Prabhu will be joining this retreat. He will be there for the entire course of the retreat. And also His Holiness Janananda Swami is also going to be joining. And like I said, early bird is extended to 20th of Feb. So please do make most of this opportunity that you have all been given. And if you're interested, please get in touch with Divyanam Prabhu. I will share the flyer on the different WhatsApp groups. So now let's come back to our verse. If there are any questions, comments, please do feel free. If there are any corrections, realizations, please unmute yourselves and do share so that it'll benefit all of us. Thank you. No questions? Everybody
Hare
satisfied?
Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Obeisances.
So glad to see you. I am so pleased to see you. You are doing a wonderful service to Prabhupada and our Guru Maharaj.
Thank you.
And I can see the effect of that. What you just said, that you are practicing it. This is where the purity lies.
I'm still struggling, Prabhuji, but your mercy, please bless me so that I can, continue doing my
I'm
service.
sure you'll do even better in the years to come. But I think it's so important to emphasize that the whole Bhagavatam, the whole purpose is to remember Krishna and never to forget him.
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose. That's what every guru will tell us.
Yes.
So yes, when I was growing up in Africa, I never knew that I needed a guru because the education we receive on this Western standards does not teach you that you are the spirit soul and there is no need of a guru.
Yes.
So yes, it is so essential to do that. And it is true that without studying Bhagavatam and understanding and applying it, you can go back to the spiritual world in this very life. This is happening so often. Devotees are going back, and yes, if people are serious about going back and want to discontinue their millions of births in this material world, that's the process.
Yes, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you. It's true. Thank you. Yes, Veena Mataji, you raised your hand.
Yes, Hare Krishna Mataji. It's the first time that I've come to these sessions.
Oh.
Thank you for inviting me to recite, and what a wonderful session it was. I've learned so much. Mataji, I've got a quick question. You talked about envy, and obviously to listen to anything like, the Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita or, anything, it requires that level of understanding and being not big in yourself and ego and everything. How do you begin to let it go? Because if you're an angry person, or even because of circumstances might have made you like that, or you might have been raised in a family where there's always tensions and you don't know how to come out of it. So how can we get over this?
Yeah. Okay. So first thing I will tell you is that in this Kali Yuga, Prabhupada used to say, all of us are born Shudras, we have no qualification. So try and understand this from a very, how Prabhupada would speak. When Prabhupada went to the West and he started speaking to all of his disciples, none of them had the qualifications in that sense, if you think about it. Obviously, when we look at it from another point of view, they are all spirit souls. So they all had qualifications. But in the current material body and the current material life, they did not have any qualifications because they came from such families where right from birth, there was meat eating, there was intoxicants. So many of Prabhupada's disciples were into drugs and drinks and illicit sex and all of that. But Prabhupada did not stop preaching to them, did not say that you cannot listen or read the Bhagavad Gita or the Bhagavatam. So what we have to understand is that we don't have any qualification. Our qualification is to be submissive to Srila Prabhupada, to ISKCON, and that is our only qualification. And if we are willing to do that, then Prabhupada says, don't worry, I will kick out all the difficulties from your life, but you have to be submissive. That's what he keeps talking about. And from my own experience, I will say that when I look back 10 years back or 12 years back when I came to Krishna consciousness, and if I would have thought to myself that I'm not qualified, I first need to change all these things in my life, I need to be this in order to become Krishna conscious, I wouldn't be where I am. So Prabhupada says, and all our gurus and acharyas and everybody will say, and all the senior devotees on this call will agree that right now is the time to take the first step. You take the step now. Spiritual life is when you accept and understand that you want to get out of this cycle of birth and death. As soon as you do that, that's the time you take the first step. Forget about the other qualifications. That our acharyas, our gurus, they're very merciful. Krishna is very merciful. Mahaprabhu is very merciful. He will give us all the qualifications we need. I hope that helps, Veena Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes, it does. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. I can't see the name, so I'm not sure.
That's okay, Mataji. It's Namrata.
Yes.
My humble obeisances to yourself, Mataji. Thank you for a wonderful class, as always, Mataji. Mataji, I've got this question where I feel, unless it's just me, that I feel that when I was listening to all the Bhagavad Gita lessons with you all, I felt the continuity, and maybe because I was also reading the purport before I was coming to the class, I felt the continuity on the and the understanding. I feel currently, even though I've been joining the lessons, and if I miss it, like today, I couldn't join on time, so I will listen to the recording that Mataji sends, which is brilliant. But Mataji, I don't feel the continuity, and hence, I don't remember anything that I have just listened. Is it just me who is feeling like that?
Okay, no. So I was listening to a lecture by His Grace Raj Bihari Prabhu, and he said in his class, he said, some of you, probably you're not understanding what I'm saying. Maybe nothing you're understanding. Maybe you are like you're saying, no continuity. I can't remember. I can't understand. It's okay. It's all right. Because if it is the first time that you're listening to Srimad Bhagavatam, let's say, maybe you have, but I'm talking from my personal experience. The first time I was advised by my very good friend, a wonderful devotee, she said to me, you should start listening to the Srimad Bhagavatam classes from the manner which is online. The first time I joined the class, obviously it must have been on, I think it was on Canto 8, where they were talking about Bali Maharaj. Now, obviously, there was no, I didn't have any reference. I didn't know what is going on. But I just kept listening without fail every single day. So right now, if you're feeling this, it's all right. It's fine. Because also remember that the first few verses of the Bhagavatam are very, very deep and philosophical. And there's a lot that is being spoken about. Also, the Bhagavad Gita, I'm not sure if you attended, were you able to listen to all the chapters? And also it doesn't, even if you've listened to the Bhagavad Gita, it doesn't matter. I was listening to a class where somebody said, I had not finished reading the Bhagavad Gita, but I was told it's okay, start with the Bhagavatam. It's fine. So it's fine if you're feeling like that, but I would highly recommend you that stick to the sessions, don't give up, listen to them, and whenever you have time, do read on your own, because that really helps. If I show you what I did, and I'm not trying to when the lockdown happened in 2020, one of the goals that I set for myself, which obviously I have not achieved, but one of the goals I set for myself is that I will, I've read the Bhagavatam already, but I will reread them, not just reread them, but make notes, because making notes really helps. And I've got pages and pages and pages of notes, honestly. Now, do you think I remember all of it? I don't remember any of it. I don't remember, because this is Kali Yuga Buddhi. We don't have memory. But like I said, this knowledge is transcendental. Somewhere, something is happening in your heart. It is happening slowly. The dust on the mirror of your heart is being cleaned, and Krishna will reciprocate. So don't worry about that.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
There's a question on the chat by Sakshi Mataji saying, is reading the Srimad Bhagavatam good as listening? Yes, of course. Shravanam includes reading, listening, discussing, all of that at Shravanam. So yes, it is. And one must try and read the Srimad Bhagavatam in their own time, because that way you're going at your own pace and not at the pace of everybody else. So, read at your pace. That's very good. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Mataji.
No problem.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Thank you so much for a wonderful class. Mataji, can I share a practical example of the potency of just listening, even if you don't understand the Srimad Bhagavatam?
Yes,
Is it
please.
okay for me to quickly share it?
Yes.
This is a long time ago, but my sister, who was 6 years old, we took her to India, and she'd never heard Bhagavatam before. But when we were in my dad's town, there was a Bhagavatam Sapta on. She was 6. She didn't understand Hindi or anything, but for some odd reason, she sat through the 7 days in the front row, listening to this Bhagavatam Sapta in Hindi. She couldn't understand anything, but something drew her to it. And the person who was doing the Bhagavatam kept on asking, who is this little girl? She comes every day, and so my dad told him that this is my daughter. But I don't know whether it's the potency of the Bhagavatam. And now when I hear you and other speakers talk about Bhagavatam, and I've realized some of it myself, is that at the end of the 7 days, we had gone to see my granddad, who was very ill.
Yeah.
My granddad got better, and she left her body on the 8th day, my little sister.
Your sister?
Yes, 6-year-old.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Hema Mataji, this is almost like Parikshit Maharaj listening to the Bhagavatam before
This
leaving
is
his
a
body.
real fact. On the 8th day,
Oh my
she
God.
left her body, and my grandfather got better. So what I'm saying is that we experienced it, and that's the potency of the Srimad Bhagavatam. She didn't understand anything she was hearing. But
Mataji,
she said,
I've got goosebumps just listening to
know.
this. This is almost like
That's why I
Parikshit.
wanted to-
Just, oh my God, she was preparing to see how Krishna is so merciful, isn't it? Krishna gave her the opportunity to
Yes.
listen to Srimad Bhagavatam before go. Oh my God, what a blessed soul.
Yeah,
What a blessed
so there is, and then Dandukari's story, obviously, you know, the Bhagavad Mahatmya, how he attentively listened, and even though he was so impious and all that, but he went, and all the villagers who've been listening and were very pious didn't go because they didn't
have the
listen
faith.
attentively.
No, and they didn't have the faith. He had the faith because he was
That he had
told.
the faith.
He was told
That's
that if
right.
you listen, you will go back. And he had that faith. So we
That's
must listen with faith, attentively and submissively. Thank you so much for sharing, Hema Mataji.
Thank
Such
you.
a personal story, and thank you for sharing. It's amazing.
It's a
Really
fact.
amazing. Wow.
That's right.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Dhanvan Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Madhu Kumari
Hare
was
Krishna,
wonderful.
Madhu.
Dear Madhu Kumari, it was always wonderful to listen to you. It's so
Palika Mataji, you're
enlightening.
always kind. I always say you all Vaishnavas are very, very kind. Thank you so
No,
much.
no, it's true actually. Also, Bhagavatam is, Bhagavatam himself is just so elevating. I remember many years ago, it was maybe about 20 years ago. I went to a Ram Navami to the temple, and I went upstairs. It was in Srila Prabhupada's room, and Prabhu was speaking Srimad Bhagavatam. I just sat down there. As soon as I sat down, something was telling me that I have to come every single day, every single time, and every single, Sunday I would go, and he would recite, and he was to close his eye and just speak. And for 10 years, after that, I was, oh my God, it's just too good. Then I got my Bhagavatam set, and then how it all happens.
Wow, really? I mean, it's
Yes.
amazing. It's amazing how, how Krishna,
Yeah.
you just open the door a little bit and he puts his one foot, one toe in, and he
Yes.
just enters your life, and
Yes,
that's amazing.
absolutely. Yeah. Srimad Bhagavatam is just, I remember actually many years ago, I may have been about 5-6 years old when I heard Bhagavatam when I was young. And my father took me to a Srimad Bhagavatam class. And I was with my father, and I did not understand anything I would know. I was just listening, and I saw my father. And after the father, I came from that place where Bhagavatam was spoken, and my father just came home, and he went to our called Thakur Ghar, which we had a little temple room, and he was crying and crying. He just closed that, room, and none of us knew that what was happening, why father was crying so much, and he just closed the door. And then we spoke to my sister, maybe my mother gone somewhere and she maybe passed away. My father got the news that he's not telling us. So eventually some of the devotee came to our house, and he said, please do not disturb your father. I think he went to trance. So yeah, leave him. So I mean, I heard it so young, and then after so many years when I came, Bhagavatam attracted me. This is how Bhagavatam is.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
It's just amazing. It's just
amazing. It is how Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, how you approach it, and that way Krishna will approach. So, everybody, see, all of us have got our own ideas and our own thoughts. Like if you take the story of when Krishna entered the arena of Kamsa to fight these two wrestlers. And there is this beautiful verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam where it says that everybody looked at Krishna and had different experiences. Yes. The ladies of Krishna thought he is Cupid himself. The the ladies of that place thought he is Cupid himself. The men thought, oh, he is the best man among men. When they saw Krishna and Balram. Kamsa, he thought, this is death personified. This is my death coming, my Kala coming. So everybody looks at the same. It's the same thing happening. Krishna and Balram are entering, not different, but how we look at things. And that's what it is. We have to understand that we all have our own conditionings, our own karmas that we are carrying. But the Bhagavatam, if you are submissive, will reveal itself slowly. Like in the first session, we discussed that you need to make the Bhagavatam your friend, and then it will reveal itself.
Yes, thank you. Yeah,
thank you.
And Hima's sister's story is amazing.
I know, my God, it's amazing.
Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. It's just Thank you, Hema, for sharing.
Okay. There's one comment or question. I'm trying to read the Srimad Bhagavatam, but we were told there are different meters how to recite. Yes. So by reading on our own, does it make any difference? No, it does not make any difference how you read. You don't have to, when you're reading, you don't have to recite the verses. You're actually just reading. So it doesn't matter what meter you're doing, it's fine. Veena Mataji, is it offense to read the Sanskrit shlokas if we cannot pronounce it properly? In this respect, is it okay to just read the translation in purport? So the first time I read the Srimad Bhagavatam, I was advised that by devotees that maybe I should just read the translations, not even read the purports or the Sanskrit, just read the translation. So I have a flow, because the purports of Bhagavatam are very long. Obviously, personally, I did not like that idea, because I just thought I wanted to, read the purport also. So I read it, but there is no problem if you're not able to read the Sanskrit shlokas, or if you decide I only want to read the translations for the first time, so that there is a flow and continuity. Because what happens is, let's say you have, say, half an hour to read the Bhagavatam. And in that half an hour, you complete only 2 verses because the purports are so long. And then let's say next day you don't get the chance, and the 4th day you go back and you've kind of lost track. So everybody has their own way of approaching the Bhagavatam. Like I said, it's not one way, because it is a personal relation. You decide what works for you and you do it that way. There is no right or wrong way. The only right way, the only wrong way would be to approach it with a kind of, Prabhupada uses this word, what word he uses? I don't have my purport right now over here. Challenging way. Challenging. That's what Prabhupada says. That is the wrong way. But if you approach it submissively, then the Bhagavatam will reveal itself. No offense in the way you read it. So that's fine. Okay, any other questions? It's 9 o'clock. I'm conscious of the time. Okay, is there any other question? Okay. If not, then we will stop here. Thank you very much for coming. I will share the flyer about the new Mayapur trip on the group. Thank you very much. Vanchakalpatrubhascha kripa
Thank you so much.
Mataji.
Krishna Mataji, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Mataji, thank you.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.